Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Here, the East Coast from the here Rundown. You, Craig, guess what it is?
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
Throw punch Thursday, bitch.
Why is that hilarious? I will ask every time. I don't understand why it is.
It's kind of, just kind of comes around.
All right, Mike, I'm gonna have to do you a favor because right now, and I don't know what other people are hearing, but what I'm hearing, you sound like a chipmunk, and I know it's on my end. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and do the shout outs to our sponsors, and I'm gonna reboot you real quick while I do that. All right, let's see here. Let's go ahead and get into our show. Evidently, he can hear me just fine as he gives me the thumbs up. All right, folks. Well, hey, let's start off with Hitman Industries. Hitman Industries makes rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for us to purchase at any length. All you have to do is go to hitmanindustries.net. If you've purchased an AR in the last few years, there's a good chance that you've already purchased one of their barrels. Why not get another one today? Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives behind enemy lines here in the state of California. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. You need to figure out why or learn why at cragop.org, because if you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. Then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. That would be at hawgholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, because they like helping Americans wear guns. Now, they like it so much, they're going to give you your holster on a discount. All you have to do is use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, and you're going to get your Hog holster on discount. And then finally, there is a place where you can get all the tactical gear that you need, from hats to boots to everything. Trust me, you can find all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. All right, Mikey, let's see if I've got your sound working just fine now. How you doing, sir?
All right, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
It's bam. You are good. You are good. Sometimes what happens, Mike, is that happens rarely, but sometimes what happens, like literally all I can hear was me, 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 me.
It's the gremlins. We understand. It's the gremlins.
It's the tech gremlins. They don't want us to be, they don't want us to be here, is what it is. Now, just to remind you folks, if you're watching us, and by the way, the fact that you know that happened, this means you're probably watching us live. We do this show live. If you're watching us during the 3 o'clock hour on the West Coast or the 6 o'clock hour on the East Coast, you're watching us live, which means we're taking your comments. We would love to hear what you have to say about the program, what you think about the topics. And the best way to get on the show, quite frankly, is by disagreeing with us. Because once you disagree with us, that gives us the opportunity to mock you.
Oh, wow. Is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
That bird looked right at him and said, "Mock you."
Mock you. Yes, one day we're going to have to do a mockumentary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I'm thinking like a Spinal Tap kind of deal.
Oh, yeah. That would be fun. That would be fun. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into today's program because we got some interesting stuff to talk about. Most importantly, and the reason why this is heading up the program is because, first and foremost, we like talking about the Second Amendment. And that has to do with a judge who has ruled that some significant segments of the National Firearms Act are ruled unconstitutional. To know that this is a big deal, I've actually decided to go ahead and pull the story from a source that I normally wouldn't go to, The Hill. They're usually really kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Left-leaning. They pretend to be center-left, but you and I know, Mike, they're really kind of left-leaning. So I decided to pull the story from them. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I'm having a hard time because I did not set the story up first. which means I don't have the story up here to be able to pull up to read. There we go. And oh man, this is going to look all bad when we finally get to the final. Yeah, well, this is why. Well, once again, this is the fun of doing stuff live, because you have stuff like this happen, and then you get a chance to do this. And then we'll take this over here, close you off, and there we go. Nope, not quite, not quite. Anyway, but this is the federal judge rules National Firearms Act. Federal regulations on firearms, silencers, and some guns stand. Judge rules. It says here, a federal judge on Wednesday ruled that some federal gun restrictions can no longer stand after Republicans last year zeroed out the taxes that justified their constitutionality. Congress relied on its taxing authority to pass the 1934 National Firearms Act, which established a $200 fee to transfer or make certain firearms. But last year's One Big Beautiful Bill Act eliminated the tax for short-barreled shotguns, short-barreled rifles, and suppressors. They call them silencers. I'm going to call them suppressors because that's what they are. The U.S. District Judge Wesley Hendricks said that has constitutional consequences. The law's registration and record-keeping requirement for those guns can't continue, he ruled. Because today's NFA does not generate any revenue from untaxed firearms, its regulatory provisions cannot be upheld under the taxing power, Hendricks wrote in his 66-page opinion. Now, this is a pretty big deal because folks have been fighting forever to eliminate the NFA, and I think this is once again a pretty huge deal. Would you say, Mike?
It is, Craig, but my final decision is out for legal analysis. Let me say that because I have not had the time to go through it all completely. My concern is, well, first off, great decision. This is a huge victory, at a minimum, for those in the Northern District of Texas, which is where this case is out of. It's not from the complete court. It's not from the whole circuit. It's from the Northern District of Texas. So, Craig, you remember last year the CASA decision, which was the decision the Supreme Court said that federal judges cannot have nationwide effect on federal laws or presidential policies. So I want to see, and I've asked for this to get confirmation on, does this judge's decision apply nationwide or does it only apply to the Northern District of Texas? So waiting for that final fact to come in, but I will 100% agree with you. A huge victory, like I said, at a minimum for those people in the Northern District of Texas.
Well, and the other thing is now part of this is going to have to do with how the administration decides to implement it. So, in other words, this administration could very easily say, well, once that ruling comes down, they can then change all of their regulations and no longer require it. And just say, yeah, well, look, that's what the court ruled.
Right,
I think if it's going on in other states, depending on what, for example, the circuit court says, because I have a feeling this is going to wind up getting appealed.
Right.
Once the district court says something, then it'll have a broader impact, at least throughout that region. But at least then right now, it can still be cited as precedent if it's not challenged. But it may not necessarily have effect in other places.
Correct. Remember, it'll have big weight in that circuit, and then some weight in throughout the country. But like I said, I don't know what the judge cited in there. I have not read the final ruling. Folks, I've been stuck at work. Sorry. Didn't have the time to sit there and read through it and see if he said it was where it was effective. Because most of the times when you see a case, unless it's a class action, and a class action that involves many people, which this does, right? But he still has to cite that in there, and I don't know if that was cited in there or not. So
now,
my information is complete. At a minimum, a great starting point.
Now, if you are in a state like California where a number of these items are actually already banned, it does not necessarily improve things for you. So if you're in California, and you're looking for one of these things like a suppressor, or you're looking for something like a short barrel rifle, yeah, still going to be highly regulated by the state of California. It's still something that's going to need to be challenged. I think once this ruling becomes somewhat permanent, once it becomes more permanent, or at least stands against an appeal or something like that, I think then you'll start to see those sorts of prohibitions challenged. In states like California, and once again, I think it won't take long to.
You may, you absolutely may. The issue being, folks, what Craig's talking about is this is a federal law. They're talking about a federal law and a federal standard. So if your state says, "Listen, we ban suppressors and we ban short barrel rifles," it's against the law here. Then, great. The federal law is going away. You can move to a different state. You can have those rights, but in your state, that's still the state law, and very rare, unless it's deemed unconstitutional in your state.
Right.
Will this have the effect on that? Because the states have the rights to create additional laws down lane or downrange, to further restrict items. Now, listen, they could fight it, Craig, but that's the beauty, right? Even under Bruin, it says states can make their own specific items. They can say for sensitive areas, and if they want to call their whole state a sensitive area and they don't want it, well, that's a court fight to be had. So.
There you go. That was exactly, because at first you were going there. I was like, yeah, no. Then you nailed it. It's a court fight that's going to need to be had, especially since, literally right there in Bruin, Thomas said you can't just make every place a sensitive place.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's the New York method. Yeah.
New York, California, Hawaii, pretty much every state that listens to the folks over at Everytown.
Well, it's like, and this is the continuing fight in New York, right? And we've just seen some reversal on that, but New York will find something else to fight it. New York said, "Listen, we don't want you can't have these firearms on boats, airplanes, roadways, trains, airports, anything like that." Well, that excludes now the entire island of Manhattan, because that's the only way to get in now. Every time. So you just can't have a gun in any of those places. Well, then how are you supposed to get the gun into Manhattan? Well, you don't. It would be illegal. So,
yeah. Well, we already know the whole story of trying to fly in and out of New York with a firearm. We talked about that guy, the guy who played for the Colts, who literally declared his firearm. Yeah. Right. Did what you're supposed to do in order to legally transport a firearm. We know because we do it all the time.
Yep.
And the folks at the counter called the police on him.
Yep. Rat bastards.
It's two places. There are only two places I do not fly into or out of with a firearm. One is Washington, D.C. The other is New York, because you never know.
Well, there's one place I don't fly to or travel to at all, and that's California. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I live here. I carry here. In fact, I just got my renewed permit. Here's the funny part, right? So I had to renew both my California driver's license and my concealed carry permit. Here's the funny part. I actually put in the thing to renew my driver's license before my concealed carry permit. I got my concealed carry permit, took the class, and got my permit, and I still haven't seen my California driver's license.
Well, I mean, they really don't care about driver's licenses in California unless you want to vote. Then you get one.
Well, unless I want a commercial driver's license and I'm an illegal immigrant, then whoa.
Yeah, then you get it.
then they just hand them out like hotcakes.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. Now, listen, you may have a modicum of gun rights in California. Me, as a non-California resident, I'm denied them 100%, which is the reason I don't travel there.
No, well, and by the way, that's the thing that I think that we're going to start to see. That's why I think I appreciate the White House's push towards national concealed carry reciprocity. Yep. That's why I appreciate, and there are a few cases right now dealing with that, because what it basically says is we went from, you may or may not have a right to keep and bear arms to you have a right to keep and bear arms in your home. That was
Heller.
That was Heller. Then it was you have a right to keep and bear arms outside of your home.
I'm sorry, that was Heller. First was McDonald. McDonald was
McDonald.
in home. Heller was outside home. Yep.
Yes. And now, but now the question is, do those very same rights end at the state line? And well, we're going to have to figure that. Well, I'm hoping that this Supreme Court figures that out, because
we're going to find out.
Yeah, we got a couple of folks who are a couple of our staunchest advocates are in their 70s, and I'm not, you know, once you're in your 70s, I'm like, we kind of need you to be, we kind of need to get these decisions going because tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah, and in your 70s, you just do it anyway because what are they going to do to you?
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Hey, wanted to give a quick shout out. Kevin Sona chimed in. He's you know Kevin. You know what he's pimping, right?
Oh yeah,
He's pimping
yeah. Hold on.
two-way.
Let me say hi to Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin just wanted to say, he says, this is what winning looks like. Join us at the 10th annual 2A Freedom Fest event and reserve your free tickets. That's a free event. Just go to www.2afreedomfestival.com. Our theme is victory. 2A Freedom Fest, educate, inspire, and motivate. It's always a fun event. Now, this year is the first year they're not doing the camping. So everyone's going to be staying in a hotel this time.
Yeah, I've decided I want to camp this year though, so it's weird.
That is kind of weird. Maybe you can just camp in the hotel parking lot. I don't know.
I think I'm gonna camp inside a luxury suite, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's supposed to be
Inside a luxury suite.
it's a great event, and I understand Kevin's going to be in a dunk tank, so it's actually like a big coffee cup, but you know we can still dunk him in it. So
That's all it really takes. Although Kevin has Kevin's gotten a little wider, so it's gonna have to be. It may not have to be very deep, but it's definitely gonna have to be a little wide.
yeah, it'd be one of them them friend style coffee cups, them big ones. But folks, you don't know Kevin's a wee man. He's a wee man.
He's a wee man, not a woman. A wee man.
He's like 4'13" or something like that.
4'13".
Yeah.
Anyway, he's good people. And this is an event, by the way, that he puts on. He puts it together, and he does. It's all volunteer.
Phenomenal work, Kevin. Phenomenal work.
Yeah, people fly in from all over the country to support him, to support this event, and to in this case, really to celebrate Florida starting to reclaim some of its gunshine state notoriety.
Yeah, we've claimed a couple of big victories here via the courts. And we could do a whole nother show on this, but our legislation here continues to be cowards when it comes to gun rights, and so the courts are recertifying our rights for us.
Exactly, and just so you know, for those of you who are wondering, they with Republican supermajorities in both houses, right?
Absolutely.
And still, they're having to fight for their gun rights. Just so you know, it happens. So just because someone has an R after their name does not mean that they're pro-gun. And by the way, just because they have a D after their name doesn't mean they're anti-gun. Doesn't mean that they're not. Chances are that they are, but it doesn't mean that they're anti-gun.
Especially here in the South. Yeah.
In the South.
Yep. In the South,
Right.
the D's. We got them Southern Democrats who believe in
Yes.
gun rights, just not on paper.
There you go. There you go. The constitutional carry. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about some of these Democratic folks over here. Oh, Kevin said he hates you. He says I hate you guys while he's laughing. Love you, man. All right. Democrat establishment is going to war, and we talked about it after the election. On Tuesday. How pretty much you have the socialists are basically going after the Democrat establishment. And what's funny, well, first of all, let's just say this. The only real difference between the two is the establishment Democrats, they want all the same socialist policies because they actually think the policies work. But they're not necessarily for overthrowing the government, right? The DSA folks, the Democratic Socialists of America, their goal is communism, right? Their goal is to first of all, overthrow the Democratic Party, but then secondly, to overthrow America, to get rid of our free market economy, to get rid of our criminal justice system, to get rid of borders, all of that. That's the goal of the Democratic Socialists of America. Now, once again, traditional Democrats, they kind of want to do the same thing. I mean, their goal is not to overthrow the government. They just actually, for some mistaken reason, think these policies are going to work. And by the way, the Democratic Socialists, they say the quiet part out loud. And well, now you've got within the Democratic Party, you actually have a war. And Democrats are actually hopping mad, and they're admitting, finally, they're admitting that there's an issue, that there's a fight that is going on. This is an article over at Breitbart. It says, this is, by the way, this is based on an article from over at the New York Times. I do not, and I will not give the New York Times a lick of my money, so that's why I'm reporting on what Breitbart is pointing out from the New York Times article, because I don't have to pay for Breitbart. Anyway, it says here, moderate Democrats, they're not moderate, they're establishment, gear up for war that is coming with Democratic Socialists. The leader of a moderate Democratic group said members are gearing up for a battle with Democratic Socialists who may try to capture the presidential nomination in 2028, the New York Times reported Thursday. Some Democrats, including Senator John Fetterman, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, have been warning against the rising influence of socialists and communists in the Democratic Party, Breitbart News reported Wednesday. Indeed, Abdullah Muhammad El Said beat establishment Democratic Representative Haley Stevens on Tuesday primary in Michigan, where, quote, the radical transformation of the Democratic Party is center stage, Breitbart News said Wednesday. Quote, El Said, a public health official and former failed candidate for governor in 2018, delivered the most high-profile win to date for the momentum increasingly calling shots in Democratic politics. While he is not a formal member of the Democratic Socialists of America, the ascendant power center of the left-wing American politics, elected officials identifying as Democratic Socialists, including Senator Bernie Sanders, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, otherwise known as Alex the Bartender, campaigned hard for him over several months leading up to the August primary. Now, John Fetterman has made it very clear. He's like, look, because he was asked, well, aren't you going to join together with, how are you going to join together with these folks and beat the Republicans? He said, well, I can't join together with somebody who keeps saying crazy things like America deserved 9/11, right? Or people who want to defund the police, or people who want to throw out the U.S. Senate. Like I said, even though Fetterman will vote with these guys the same way almost every single time. Well, oh, by the way, you got to hate the Jews. That's the other thing. That part of be a part of the socialist thing is you got to hate the Jews. But his only thing is literally the only two places where he has not supported Democrats or Democratic Socialists is he won't vote to overturn the filibuster, and he's not anti-Israel.
Yeah, listen, you did mention Bernie Sanders, so I do have to say, don't forget the oligarchy. It's the oligarchy. Oligarchy. Craig, when the Fauci trial was going, or the Fauci hearing was going on the other day, and Fetterman was on, do you remember what I texted you when they showed Fetterman? Remember what I texted you?
I do not remember.
He's wearing a suit. Fetterman was wearing
a
suit. I said it's a matter of days now before he announces he's a Republican. Once that man starts wearing a suit, he's coming over. I predict.
Not if his voting record doesn't change. That's the only. I don't want him if his voting record isn't going to change. But I guess I'll just talk about him not really being a Republican then. But I just think he's speaking the way a lot of common sense Democrats think. It was like you can't, in one hand, say you love America and then say at the same time, well, okay, I want to get rid of the Constitution. I want to get rid of our economy. I want to get rid of our form of government. Well, okay, well, what exactly is it about America that you quote unquote love? If you're looking to upend everything,
there's none. They just they're absolutely ridiculous. They anytime you listen to and let them go off on a tangent, they just they do not love America. They love themselves. And they want to hear themselves talking is what they want to hear. But to see this, Craig, and you and I've talked about this. This is how they're going to lose the midterms. This is how they're going to lose, the election in 3 years as well, because they're going to be in the midst of an internal fight, which is going to become public, and that's going to turn people away. Just like the many people that when Bernie Sanders got screwed by the Democrats, because let's face it, he's more of an independent, running on a Democrat ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But when they screwed him over the way they did, all of his people came over to the Republican side because his financial plan was much the same as what the president says.
Well, they didn't just screw him over once. They screwed him over twice, because in 2016, he was the candidate with all the momentum, and they made sure via the superdelegates that he did not get the nomination. And then in 2020, they moved the South Carolina primary just to make sure that Joe Biden would win. Right? They wanted to make sure Joe Biden would win, so they basically moved the South Carolina primary up in order to give him a shot. Dude, they literally, they recognize, and I will say this, I do know some Democrats, some legitimate Democrats who've said, who point out he's not a Democrat, right? They call him an independent. He's not even independent. He is a socialist. And the only difference between a democratic socialist and a socialist is a democratic socialist says, we're going to give you an opportunity to vote your rights away, right? In other words, we're going to give you a chance to say, we don't want our rights, and then we're going to take them. And if as soon as we get a majority of people who vote to say we're going to take away your rights, then we're okay with you taking away our rights. And even though, by the way, that's not the language that's actually going to be on the ballot at the time.
Right. Yeah. And he's, I don't know, listen, the guy's like a caricature. I don't know how you can listen to him only so long before you're like, I can't take this guy seriously. He's like an angry Muppet. It kind of reminds me of, like, the views are different, but kind of like a Ross Perot kind of character,
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. And anyway, but this Civil War, man, it's a big deal. And here's what's funny is the DSA folks, they claim that they're there because they want to help the working man. Do you know who's not voting for them?
Yeah, the working man. Yeah.
The working man is not voting for them.
Yeah.
Black people are not voting for them.
No.
I mean, Detroit went overwhelmingly. The county of Detroit's end went overwhelmingly for Stevenson, the other Democratic candidate. In other places where they've run, Mamdani didn't get a majority of the black vote. In fact, he only got like 29% of the black vote in the primary. Like 60% of it went to Cuomo. Right.
Well, the Mamdani vote is still up in the air, as we've seen recently with the work and the investigation going on there. But yeah, the vote that was published, yes, yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah,
there you go. Well, exactly. Well, the point being, this is pretty much, and kind of that's kind of how, by the way, the socialist movement works. It's largely overeducated, not necessarily successful, somewhat well-to-do white people.
Yeah,
and usually younger, right? The college age crowd.
Oh, if it's free, it's for me crowd. Yes.
Oh yeah. No, I've got my degree now in Chicano studies, and I can't get a job, so I'm going to vote for the guy who's going to create a job for someone with Chicano studies degree.
Well, someone that's going to
we're going to create a program to help.
They're going to give me billionaire money. I'm going to live on billionaire money.
Oh yeah. So California, they voted, the Democratic Party, which is fully captured by DSA, had voted to support the billionaire tax, right? What's funny is that the amount of money that goes into billionaire tax isn't even enough to cover the deficit that we have here in the state of California.
Right. Yeah. Well,
it won't even cover the deficit, let alone anything substantive. The worst part is that if you took away all the money from all of the billionaires in the United States, you wouldn't even fund half. You wouldn't even fund half to a quarter of our federal budget for 1 year. And then, by the way, you wouldn't have any way of paying any taxes going forward, because they're, by the way, the people who are providing all of the jobs.
That's it.
But socialists know it all.
Yeah.
This time they're going to make it work, right?
Yeah, it's going to work now. They did it wrong before. Yep.
It's gonna work this time. Well, let's talk about making it work this time. Well, we all knew that the idea that was being put forward by Mr. Mamdani when it came to the grocery stores, the city-owned grocery stores, we knew it was a bad deal. turns out it's worse than most of us thought. This being reported by the New York Post. It says here, Mamdani grocery store specs show the idea is even crazier than we thought. The specs for Mayor Zoran Mamdani's magical city-run grocery stores demand the moon, but shoppers will be lucky to find some overripe green cheese. As most city contracting, the Economic Development Corp's official request for proposals outlines an implausible wish list that will deliver less than half what Mamdani promised at more than twice the price. What the city wants potential operators of the stores to submit specific financial plans for stocking, staffing, and operating 5 supermarkets when the city hasn't built any of the 5 nor chosen locations for 3. These imaginary stores must be managed under a business plan of Alice in Wonderland, no deli counter allowed, but they must sell fruit, tuna, beans, chicken, egg, and potato salads. The operator should have a pre-existing, quote, cost-effective supply chain, end quote, but also source from quote local suppliers and small businesses while keeping prices low. Staff will have to enforce who can shop. Only those with a quote library card-esque customer ID card, which is nothing like voter ID because the stores are eligible for a taxpayer-funded affordability payment, a subsidy to cover the cost of selling items for 30% below retail average. But management must have experience with employee profit sharing. Now, Mike, first of all, what a lot of people don't understand, in particular about the grocery industry, is grocery store market, their margins are very thin. They operate on somewhere between a 4 to 5% profit margin, right? Meaning we're talking you add up all the costs and then you add about 5% on top of that, and that's what they usually charge on average for their products. And they operate on very thin margins. What they focus on is turnover, churn, right? They make a lot of money because they hopefully turn it over a lot. Well, now you're saying that you want to reduce what they're selling it for by market rate by 30%. So now all of a sudden they're losing money, right? They're losing about 25% just by operating the store. And oh, by the way, on top of that, they're supposed to get it from local suppliers. Last I checked, New York is not the breadbasket of the United States. The cheapest food is not grown in New York City.
It's not the bread basket, but it is the bagel basket. I could say that.
It is the bagel basket, but I'm willing to bet you they don't get their flour from there.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, listen, if you have, did you have junior achievement growing up? Is that still a thing? Do they have JA by you?
No, they didn't. Well, no, we didn't have it at our school, but I was familiar with it. Yes.
Okay, it's a for middle school to junior high kids would get together and then put together small business and business plans, and it had to be successful. His plan right here would fail 100%. It would fail 100% of everything he just said. Does not equal a successful business. It doesn't even equal a business I could open up on day one and watch it go bankrupt. It doesn't even have that much to it to make it legitimate. And Craig, add into that, of course, the juxtaposition of must have an ID. What? Didn't we just fight for no IDs? Isn't that what you're fighting for now?
Well, yeah, I thought affordable groceries. I thought that was a human right, right? I thought it was a human. If it's a human right, then why do you need to have an ID to exercise a human right?
Yeah, this guy is. It's a sham.
I forgot who it was, but they made a very interesting point. This mostly had to do with guns, but the point is that a fundamental human right It's not a human right if it requires you to basically take from someone else. If someone else has to subsidize it and pay for it, then it's not a fundamental human right, because now you're violating someone else's fundamental human right, their right to personal property. You're violating that in order to empower someone else to exercise their right. Then it's not a human right.
You have a human in this country. You have a human right to, and a constitutional right, which is, reiterates the human rights to go out and pursue happiness, which is get a job, right? So you can earn a living to buy food, or go out and raise your own food and raise your own cattle and raise your own farm so you can have food. You have the right to do those. You don't have the right to go outside and get a free handout of food. That's not what we have.
No, you don't. You really don't. And well, but the same thing, like for example, like when they talk about, well, you have a right to health care, right? So we should be providing government-run health care. You have a right to tax other people, make other people pay for your health care. Well, the example that was used, and Nick Freitas used this example, he said, well, then if I have a right to keep and bear arms, then the government should be forced to buy me a gun, right? And they would say, well, no, the government should not be forced to buy you a gun. Well, why not? If it's a fundamental human right, well, no, because he knows, as we all know, that once again, your human rights stop at infringing on the human rights of other people, on the fundamental rights of other people.
And listen, if we let the government buy us all guns, we'd all end up with high points.
That's bad.
Yeah,
that is bad. That's oppression, folks. That is oppression. Let me tell you. And the criminals will all have Glocks, right?
That's right. They got the G-lock, baby.
They would have the G-lock, and we'd be stuck with high points.
That's it.
All bad. All bad. Oh, let's talk about all bad. Well, so there's a very, very well-known, he's like a star professor over at Cambridge. Turns out that a bunch of his story, a bunch of the stuff about him, turns out to actually be fake. And as a result, he has had to resign. But he's now resigning. Now he's talking about how basically he's now made shocking claims about pigs' heads, stalker, and racist threats, and basically he's offered no evidence to support any of these things. Let me read this here. It says, celebrity Cambridge professor Jason Arday, who resigned suddenly on Wednesday after the university announced it had opened an investigation into his academic credentials, has a history of claiming he was a victim of violent criminal threats and that are not supported by law enforcement or any other available records the Washington Free Beacon found. Arday, in a speech given a year ago, made a series of lurid and macabre claims about threats made to him and his family, including pigs' heads in my parents' door. But a year later, with Arday now fighting accusations of rampant plagiarism and lies about his life story, there's no evidence police investigated these threats or that the threats even existed based on records. Now, what's interesting here, the University of Cambridge, after previously declining to investigate Arday for plagiarism, announced Wednesday it has begun an investigation following new information about the professor's academic qualifications and honorary appointments. Now, this is a guy who's made a bunch of claims. And once again, this guy is, you remember who George Santos is, right, Mike?
Yes, from Long Island. Yeah.
Yes. This guy is very George Santos-esque. I mean,
he's very Jesse Smouye-esque. Look at the picture. Let me show me this guy's picture again. Let me ask you this: what is this guy going for here? I don't know what is that? I don't. What's the collar, the suspenders, that hair?
He could use a little bit of powder on that forehead because he's shining.
I think that's lipstick. Pretty sure that's lipstick. It's like I don't know what he's going for there. I don't know if neutral gender or something he's going for. I don't know.
Yeah, but dude's got to go. And I mean, here's the thing, man. Clearly, this dude was a DEI hire, right? And they pretty much even said said as much.
Yeah, nobody bothered to verify his credentials when he showed up because Craig, that would be racist. But here he is. Listen, this is somebody who's now. I think there's indisputable proof that he has lied repeatedly about who he is and what his credentials are. So what's he do? Claim to be the victim.
Yep. Yeah. No. And it's, the thing that makes me mad about this is once again, as someone who's, whenever you hire somebody, whenever you get somebody who once again is hired with all of these bad credentials, who doesn't really hold up to mustard, it impacts, and once again, this dude is a DEI hire. Then what happens to people who legitimately earned their way there? People who are who legitimately have earned and had an ability through their work and hard work. Now all of a sudden, they're wherever they are, their credentials are now suspect, because people are getting ahead by just throwing that out there.
He's just made it incredibly hard for anybody else that's trying to be an academic, and not let alone what he's done for African Americans trying to claim credentials. Now that's in the back of people's mind. Oh well, this guy, so it must be he's bringing hate down upon, or not hate's the wrong word. He's bringing scrutiny down upon everybody else as well.
Yes, it's beyond frustrating, I will say.
Yeah.
All right, folks, this now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your Hog Holster today. This first one here, and this is a bit of irony when you start talking about the concept of gender equity. Anyway, I love this particular. This guy, I think it's Brandon Gill, Representative Gill, is just phenomenal. Although I still question his 1970s haircut. Let me share this with you.
Anti-racial justice. You're anti-gender equity. Gender equity. I find it particularly amusing that the party who doesn't know how many genders there are to begin with has the gall to lecture us about gender equity.
He does. He's got the Christopher Reeve 1970s Superman haircut.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Now, Mike, you have often talked about the conservatism of Brooklyn, and I've come to realize now that it's not just because of the conservatism; it's also because of the whiteness of Brooklyn, as this comedian here points out.
Brooklyn's so white. They have Black Lives Matter protests. Half the protesters are white in Brooklyn. I've seen white kids yelling Black Lives Matter at black cops. And they're trying to say, I'm trying to protect you from yourself. You don't understand.
Yeah, it's the over gentrification of Brooklyn. Brooklyn had a great identity for a very long time, and then white girls showed up and was like, "Brooklyn's is mine now," and it's over with.
There you go. So now this next one is interesting because, once again, the first guy, Gil, was talking about how they can't tell how many genders there are. Well, in this particular comedian, he has a perfect way to tell like what gender somebody is, in particular based on what they're wearing.
Nowadays, you can't always tell who's a man or a woman. I can always tell by what they're wearing. Like a biological woman would never wear a condom.
It's true, although I believe the best judge of gender has always been Paul Hogan. Crocodile Dundee. He had a very good technique for it.
What was that?
Oh, he'd put his hand down there and go,
"Oh." Okay. Got another commercial from Steve Hilton by the folks over at Spencer Pratt's shop, and so I figured I would share that commercial with you. It's another humdinger. Now, the one thing I will say is they did a better job of making sure that the politicians like Gavin Newsom and Javier Becerra looked like they're supposed to look, but they still haven't gotten the voices down. But it's entertaining nonetheless.
As long as the machine rules California, nothing will ever change.
The homelessness problem continues to worsen in California.
Gas prices in the state have reached a record high. Another local favorite has closed down in Santa Monica.
Things have just gotten so expensive. I don't know if we can continue living here. We just want anyone to hear us.
Okay, we've got to figure out this governor thing. I'd do it forever, but it's my turn to be president. Bring in the machine.
The Democratic nominee is Javier Becerra.
Huh? The Biden guy who lost all those kids?
Can't be right. Run it again.
Becerra.
Becerra, welcome. The machine picked you.
The machine?
Thing we created to make sure nothing ever changes. As long as you submit to the machine, you don't have to do anything.
Nothing? I can do that.
I believe all the things that Newsom believed. 4 more years. 4 more years.
So, what do you think? It went well?
That was worse than...
Who else is tired of the highest taxes in the country? The highest gas prices in the country? The worst homelessness in the country? This is our state, not the machines! That's what we're fighting for!
Your taxes are going up. Do not resist.
Nobody's ever stood up to the machine before.
It's time to take California back!
Can we get Swalwell back? Run it again.
Better. The faces are better. Becerra, not so much. I think Newsom is about 90% there, although it sounds like John Gruden voiced him this time. Coach John Gruden.
Yeah, and did you notice they add some bass to some bass and a little less British accent to Steve Hilton, and
Yeah.
they also broaden the shoulders.
And it beefed him up a little.
Jawline. They beefed him up a little.
Yep,
He looked like he's been doing some TRT therapy.
There you go. There you go.
Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. It is entertaining nonetheless. Sadly, there's a lot of it that's true. I mean, it's a commercial, so you know it's an exaggeration, but it's still true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. So that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
That's right. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Get on over there, get you some AR barrels. They got rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire. They also have a full line of rifle, shotgun, and pistol barrels for all other firearms. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Public Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, whatever it may be, get your agency together, get your group together, place an order at uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment, visit our sponsors by following the links in the description to this program. Go there, check them out, spend some money with them, and tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. With that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We will be back tomorrow on Free for All Friday. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see you mañana.